Welcome to the Quad Cities Chamber's Business Brief on the Bi-State Revolving Loan Fund, featuring Denise Bulat, Executive Director of the Bi-State Regional Commission. Quad Cities Chamber Briefs are short programs designed to connect you to the latest guidance and resources about advocacy, financial resources, business intelligence, and promotions to help your organization grow. Look for business briefs on our website and in our e-news. So let's get started. I would like to introduce Denise Bulat of the Bi-State Regional Commission. So just a few quick facts. Bi-State Regional Commission is a voluntary regional association that represents member governments. This includes 5 counties and 44 municipalities here in the Quad Cities. Bi-State delivers regional programs and assists local governments in transportation, comprehensive, recreational, land use, and environmental planning, coordination of community and economic development activities, grant writing and administration, and intergovernmental efforts. And this is Denise Bulat. She has worked at Bi-State Regional Commission since 1984 and has served as the executive director for 19 years. One recent highlight of her career was walking across the Iowa-bound span of the new Interstate 74 Mississippi River Bridge, a project she's been working on for over 20 years. Denise, tell us about that experience.
It was wonderful. It demonstrates how beautiful the bridge is, but how many people are involved. It really was humbling to understand that even though Bi-State was involved in the planning side of things, with our local governments supporting the project since 1998 as the top priority of our area, but now seeing the contractors and the construction workers and the people who are making it grow in front of our eyes. It was very impressive, and it's very beautiful.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's been transformational for the Quad Cities, so I'm glad to see it moving forward. So we're here today to talk about the Bi-State Revolving Loan Fund. So I thought we'd start off with what is a revolving loan fund and how do they work?
Well, what a revolving loan fund is a fund that's usually capitalized with money. In this case, this is federal money that's capitalized, and it is meant to be lent out according to a plan. We have a plan that we developed, and that was accepted by the Economic Development Administration. So this happens to be federal money, and we received it as part of the CARES Act, so one of the relief efforts. And what the intention is for us to retain and or create jobs by loaning money out to businesses who need the money. We are meant to do due diligence, so we do have to ask some questions. There is an application. There's an expectation that the business is putting something into the project, is providing collateral, all the typical things that might happen with a loan. And then when they pay back the money, it revolves. So that means another business 3, 4, 5 years from now can also get a loan because that money has been paid back, and it revolves, and we can loan it out again.
Sounds like a unique opportunity.
Yes.
So you mentioned a little bit the money from the CARES Act. How much money are we talking? What's available to our local businesses?
Well, for Muscatine, Mercer, Rock Island, and Scott counties, we received $2,250,000 to loan out. We've loaned out 50,000 of it. We have a few folks who are looking at the loan right now and developing draft applications. And we do need to loan that money out no later than the end of June 2022. If we don't utilize the money, then the Economic Development Administration will take that money back.
And there is another a previous revolving loan fund?
Yes, Bi-State has an existing revolving loan fund that we've had since the mid-1980s.
Okay.
And we've revolved that loan program since 8 times. And, and that is a total of $1.25 million way back when. And the thing about that loan program is it did have matching dollars come into it from the various local governments who supported projects from the businesses within their communities. Okay. So that includes both the federal dollars that have been rotating, plus the local dollars, plus the money that those businesses have paid us back. Now that program actually has relief too from the perspective that we can reduce the amount of interest we require. So we are offering different levels of interest based on the risk of the job. Before, the Economic Development Administration required that the lowest percent interest we could give for a loan was 75% of prime in the Wall Street Journal. Now we can go down to 0% if the project is enticing enough to the Revolving Loan Fund Board.
Okay.
And that would be a manufacturing job, a service job like electricians, very good job and jobs that pay well with fringe benefits. And before COVID, we had to look at mostly the growth of jobs. Now it's understood that just retaining jobs is very, very important too. So we can look at both.
Okay. So let's see, you mentioned a few types of companies in
Yes.
there. What are the types of companies? Is it any company? Is it startup companies? What is your target?
Well, our target is, our top target would be white collar or manufacturing.
Okay.
Because we know that those jobs are well paid and have good fringe benefits, as I mentioned.
Okay.
However, we can do startup companies, but they would still have to have a financial plan. One of the things the application requires is that we have 2 years of projections, and our loan board would prefer to see a business that is working with an accountant and has some good financials behind it. If a project comes to us and it's clear there's not a business plan, they're very early on, we would probably recommend to that potential new business that they go to the small business administrations that are offices that are available here in the area, or our SCORE chapter, because we do not help them develop that business plan. They have to come to us pretty much ready to go.
Fair enough. Let's see. What about, how do you decide the amounts of the loan? Is it?
Well, it's by the jobs.
Okay.
It's by the jobs. So let me give you an example of a small loan we just made. And it was a little over $40,000. So it's a small loan. It was a beautician. The beautician had, and it's a kind of riskier job, so we didn't give them 0%. We gave them 2.5% because we have that flexibility. That's still a good percent. And they needed us to help them buy more equipment because they were going to go from 8 beauticians to 20 beauticians.
Great.
So they were creating 12 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And they were put over approximately almost $100,000 of their own money into their project, and we loaned them $40,000. And we gave them 2.5% interest for 5 years. So that's an example of a small project. Now, manufacturing, if someone's coming in and buying equipment and that equipment has a useful life that's 10 years or more, we can go up to a 10-year term. In a manufacturing job that is less risky and has good benefits and is paying $19 or more an hour, that meets either the average county wage or well above the average county wage, then we might go to 0%. But I do want to mention something on this 0% opportunity. It ends at the end of June 2022. Mm-hmm. So after that, we would probably balloon a loan that we made right now for 0% to a next level that's acceptable, something like 2.5 or 3%. Something they can depend on that will still be lower than probably the market, but that we can also depend on, because one of the things that the interest does is it helps build that loan program, but it also pays for the administration of the loan. And so we have to do a lot of paperwork back to the federal government to show what we're doing with the loan money. And it pays for our time to do that. We don't take any money, we don't make any profit, but we do have to pay for our time for what we call servicing the loan.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you mentioned some of the specifics of the loan. Are there specific terms, like a range of terms, interest rates?
Yes, there are. There's for working capital, and the loan can be 4 years, no more than 4 years. For equipment, it can be for the logical, useful life of the loan. For inventory, typically that would be like working capital. So that would again be about 4 years. I also want to point something else out too about the new recovery loan that is because of the CARES Act. If a company received payroll protection dollars, we will need information from them, probably from the bank that they worked with, and even their applications that they're making right now to see if they can get those to be forgiven. We'll need all that information because we need to prove to the federal government that our loan is not duplicating the money they already got.
Okay.
So but that's fine as long as they can give us that paperwork and give us the information from their bank, then we can make a loan to someone who received PPP, but they should have used it already. Okay. So we really prefer not to be coming in and paying salaries with that working capital, but doing inventory or small scale equipment or large scale equipment where we can do way, like I said, a longer term.
Okay. What about collateral? Is that required? Do you need bank?
Yes, it is. The Economic Development Administration made that very clear. They require collateral. The Economic Development Administration made it very clear too that this CARES Act money is not forgivable. So they do want us to make good loans. They want us to make loans to people or businesses that we believe will be able to pay the money back.
Great. Let's see. Is there a minimum or a maximum amount that you can loan out to a business?
There is no minimum. And I would say over the course of the years Bi-State has had any kind of loan program, we've done some loans as small as $30,000 and $20,000. So that's a possibility. And the maximum right now in our plan, I mentioned we had to develop a plan and we had to get it accepted by the Economic Development Administration. The maximum right now is $350,000.
Okay.
Now we can change that, but we'd have to go back to the Economic Development Administration and do that. And I think our board probably would not likely do that except for an exceptional project.
Sure. Okay. So if I'm a manufacturing company and I'm interested in applying for this, what is the process? Is there a window to apply? Is there a deadline that we need to meet?
No, again, for the CARES Act, they might take the money back if we haven't used it by June 2022. Okay. But there's no window. It's always open. It's always open until the money is gone. then there's, but right now we have quite a bit left. And so we definitely would love to make loans. Our information is on Bi-State's website, and that's www.bistateonline.org. So BISTATEONLINE.org. And if you go on our front page, one of the first things you'll see is something about I-74 bridge. But if you just, scroll down, right below that is some information about our revolving loan fund. And it has a link in that information that takes you to additional information that goes into a little bit more and links you to the application. So it's that simple. Then when you start working on the application, one of the first things we encourage you to do is contact the local government where you're going to be situated. Okay. We would like you to work with if they're a smaller town, they may not have an economic development director, but you might work with them, the city clerk or city administrator. And then if they're a larger town, they have an economic development department. You should contact them because we would want that community's support and know that they're supporting the project. Okay. And then we'll all work through it together. Most loan applications do not come in complete. Okay. And so we give them feedback back. It's not an all or none. We know they'll have questions, we'll have questions, and we'll throw it back to them and say, you got to complete this, this, and this. And then they'll have time to get that back to us. And then my process right now is I send the information out to the loan board. And once I've got a relatively complete application, and I'll say, do you have any further questions? And they will let me know if they want a little bit more. And then once we feel it's ready for what I call prime time, then we set up a meeting. And because these are public funds, the meeting is quote unquote public. So, but now it would be by Zoom. And so we would set up a Zoom meeting, and we have to give 4 days notice at a minimum to do that. And that would be where we would consider the loan. And we would typically ask the applicant to be in the room and answer any questions. If they want their finance officer or their accountant in the room with them, that might be a good idea. And also, if possible, the local government that's supporting them, the economic development director or that city administrator in the room at the Zoom, helping to make that presentation.
What is the time frame? So say if you apply on Monday, is it weeks? Is it, what is
Well,
that?
if on Monday I got an application that was totally perfect, there were no questions and they completed it exactly the way they were supposed to,
Yep.
I would immediately send it out to our RLF board and say, is there anything you see that we would need before we could consider it? And they would typically get back to me within the next couple, 2-3 days by email.
Yep.
Then I would, and once I say it's ready, then I'll say we can set up the meeting, and I'll contact the RLF board and I'll say I'll try to find a date where we would have a majority, because we do have to have a quorum to have the meeting. Mm-hmm. And so we can actually, if everything were perfect in a perfect world, we could actually turn things around in about a month, maybe less even, if everything were perfect when it comes in. But it typically isn't. Like I said, there's always some pieces that are incomplete. There's some back and forth. Once we have one, though, I will set up the meeting as soon as possible. And then once we have approved a loan, we can do a draw from the federal funds from the Economic Development Administration, and they can get them to us usually within 72 hours.
Oh, great. Of
course, that doesn't count weekends, so 72 business days.
Okay. Let's see. I think you covered. If a company wants more information, you mentioned talking to your city. Can they reach out to your office directly?
Absolutely. They can reach out to Bi-State. Our phone number is 309-793-6300. My extension is 1140. So, but if you called 793-6300, you'd end up with someone in our reception area, and they would connect you to me. And you can always email me too. And the same subscript, bistateonline.org, is our subscript. And it's just my first initial and my last name. So D Bulat at bistateonline.org. And if you send me an email and ask a question or want an application or want the information, I'll send it back out.
Great. Yeah.
I do want to mention something, if I could, Janelle. Yeah. For those that are existing businesses, we do want to see personal financials. We want to see personal financials for any application, but we don't share them publicly. We keep those private. Okay. We also will want to see 1 year tax return. Again, don't share it publicly, but we are required to ask for that. And then we want to see 2 years of past financials if they've existed for 2 years. Now, the beautician that we just approved, she only existed for 1 year. So she had 1 year of financials, and she did get us her personal financials. She also got us her tax return. Mm-hmm. But we do want to see that past information for those existing businesses.
Okay. Those are the end of my questions. Any other final details of things that we should highlight on this program?
We have a lot of money to loan out. We really do want to loan it out. We'd love to see it be rotating here at the Bi-State region rather than going back to the Economic Development Administration.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
and we'd love to see jobs retained and created.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Denise, for joining us for today's business brief and informing us on the opportunities for businesses through the Bi-State Revolving Loan Fund. Sounds like there's a lot of opportunities here, and hopefully we can direct people in the right way. If you're interested in hosting a future business brief, please contact us via our business brief page on our website. Thanks, everybody, for watching today. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.